And I think all our settings are set, and I think we're ready to go. Okay, so now people can just kind of join in as they come, and we'll probably have some people come and go, and that is great. All right, so back to our slides. Here's what we're talking about today. We are talking about nutrition, and we're also going to talk about herbs. We're going to do both, and we're focusing on immune support because we're getting into this cold and flu season. And we're already kind of all on heightened alert for immune anyway, right? And so this has been a topic that's been pretty prevalent over the last 9 months. And now we're kind of getting to our typical cold winter season on top of everything else. So I thought this would be a good time to sort of intro this and talk about some of the ways we can include extra healthy, helpful things into our diet and our daily routine. So I'm going to go through all these slides, and we are on Facebook and Instagram to try and get this information to as many people as possible. And then I will turn all that off at the end, and just our Zoom people will have some time for question and answer at the end if you guys have any questions. So here we go. This is me. If you don't know me, my hair was a little less blue back when I took this picture, but it's still me. I started out my kind of natural health career as a childbirth educator and a labor doula. And I did that for many, many years. I've been working with families, prenatal, babies, young children for over 12 years now. I am also a faculty member with CAPA. CAPA is the organization that I certified with for my childbirth ed and my labor doula stuff. And now I do trainings for both of those. So I train new teachers and new doulas. And I like to say I've been teaching teachers how to teach since 2015. And that is one of my favorite things to do. I'm also a certified holistic nutritionist. And I've done extensive coursework in various areas of herbalism over the years, but most of them kind of focusing on that same group of people, the prenatal, pregnancy, young families, babies, sort of that's my passion. That's my world, is women's health and young families. And then, of course, lifelong lover of food and nutrition. I do love to eat. I enjoy my food. It's been a passion of mine anyway, so to be able to kind of bring all these things together has been a true joy for me. So let's talk about immune boosting in general. There's a lot of misconceptions about what it means to boost your immune system or to take immune boosting herbs or eat those foods. And a lot of what I see is what it doesn't mean. I see kind of these myths come through, whether it's what people are saying or just kind of how they're acting when they're doing these things. So what it doesn't mean that you are immune to all diseases if you eat these good healthy foods that boost your immune system, or you take these supplements that are good for your immune system. It doesn't mean you'll never get sick again, of course. It also doesn't mean that you can eat French fries all day, every day, or you can smoke or drink 3 gallons of coffee every day, and it doesn't matter because you're taking your immune boosting supplements or you're throwing in a vegetable here and there. So it definitely doesn't mean that either. Our immune system is what helps protect us from invaders, right? From that bacteria and the viruses. And it also is what helps our body repair itself, restore itself. That's all kind of works together to keep us healthy. And so the foods that we eat can help improve that immune system and help it work better. But there's a lot of other things also. Our environment plays a big role in that. Our stress plays a big role in that. Our relationships can even play a role in that. So food is one aspect where we can help, but it's a much bigger picture than that. And what it definitely doesn't mean is that we'll never get sick again if we eat all the right foods. And in fact, you may know someone in your life who they say, oh, I never get sick. They never get symptoms from any illness. And that's actually not healthy, because for our immune system to work, it needs to be responding to the invaders, right? To all of the bacteria, the virus, anything that is coming into our body that needs to be gotten rid of. We respond with things like fever and mucus, runny nose, a cough, to try and expel those things from our body and protect ourselves. So having cold symptoms is not a negative thing, but the better our immune system works, the shorter those symptoms will be when we get sick, because the more efficiently our bodies can fight those things off. So we're going to look at some specific nutrients that can help boost our immune system or nourish our immune system. There are lots. There are so many things that we could talk about today. I could have put a lot of other things on this list, but we only have like 45 minutes to an hour. So we're going to focus on these. And these are the 5 things that I looked for when I picked out the recipes for us to discuss today. And if you're watching on Zoom, if you pre-registered for this, I will send you an email probably this evening, depending on how quickly I can get the video edited and put together. And it will have the recording of this video. And then also it will have a printout of all the recipes that we're talking about. So you'll be able to take them and make them at home yourself. So these are the nutrients that I looked for when I picked out these meals, these recipes that are going to help nourish our immune system and give us some of those healthy nutrients that we need this winter. First one, let's talk about where to find them, right? It's great to have a list like this and go, oh, we need vitamin A, vitamin C. But if we don't know what foods to get them in, or sometimes it's overwhelming, there's so many options and this has a little bit, but this has more. So I'm going to try and simplify that for you. We're going to look at good places to find these nutrients, and then we're going to go through the recipes and see easy ways to incorporate them into our diets, right? So vitamin C, citrus, right? Everybody thinks citrus fruit when they think vitamin C. Oranges, grapefruits, lemons, absolutely. Fantastic source of vitamin C, but it's in a lot of other places also. We've got our red and green bell peppers. We've got broccoli and Brussels sprouts, those good cruciferous vegetables that have tons of other health benefits too. They're also high in vitamin C. Strawberries and cantaloupe. Not what we typically think of when we think vitamin C. It doesn't really fit in the citrus fruit category, but also really high in vitamin C. So but that's our first nutrient. And then our next one, we have vitamin A. And vitamin A is often found in those red and orange foods, right? So if you look down this list, we've got sweet potato, winter squash, the leafy greens are in there, that's a different color, but loaded with vitamin A and vitamin C and all kinds of other good things. Carrots, red peppers, and then our fruits at the bottom, mango, cantaloupe, grapefruit. Do you kind of see the color theme that we have going on? And this is for various reasons. Red foods have an antioxidant called anthocyanins, and orange foods tend to contain beta carotene. That's what gives it its color. And our bodies can use that to create vitamin A. Isn't that cool? So long list for those. And we've got our sweet potatoes and winter squashes and things that are perfect for this season anyway. So let's see if we can incorporate those into our diet. And then next on the list is zinc, which you probably have heard, zinc for colds, right? If you start feeling like you have a cold, take some zinc or use zinc to prevent illness in the winter. And there is so much truth to this. It's a fantastic nutrient. And you can take zinc supplements, but you can also get it in quite a number of foods, especially in beans, legumes, in nuts and seeds, in whole grains, true whole grains, which is kind of hard nowadays with our packaging and our labeling. Everything says it contains whole grains, but does it? There's not really a certifying body that checks that and makes sure it has a certain number of whole grains that really meets that good quality whole grain level. So packaging can be really misleading. And there are tricks to figure that out, to figure out the carbohydrates versus the fiber and all that. But the easiest way is just to use a whole grain. So instead of trying to find something processed that still maintains enough of the grain, let's look at oats, brown rice, quinoa. Well, quinoa is technically a seed, but it fits in that category. Barley, like let's look at some of these actual, like I can see the grain, it's in my hand, it's all there, it's whole. And use those, and then you don't have to wonder. And then we have our sweet potatoes again. I am a firm believer that sweet potatoes are the world's most perfect food. They just have almost everything in them. They're so incredibly healthy, and this is the perfect season to make the most of them. And kale also. So sweet potatoes and kale have zinc in smaller amounts than the others, but it adds up, and that's what it's about. I was going to say more, but I'm getting ahead of myself. We'll get there. All right, so next on our list is vitamin B6. And the B vitamins all work really well together. So we want all the B vitamins, but B6 has a particular role to play in our immune system. So places to find it, soybeans, whether that's just straight edamame beans or in a processed soy food like tofu, especially the enriched tofus. It has a little bit extra vitamins in there. And then avocado, oats. Doesn't that picture look good with all that fruit on it, all those antioxidants and the blueberries and the strawberries? And then we've got that whole grain, oats, right? Bananas, also really high in B6. And then sweet potatoes and winter squash, right? Perfect for right now. And then I think this is the last one that was on the list, our B9, which is also called folate or folic acid. And those terms are often used interchangeably. Folate is the natural form in the food, and folic acid is the man-made version that we often get in vitamins and supplements because it's more stable. So it lasts longer when you're putting it into a supplement. But if we can get the natural form in the food, how much easier, right? So great sources of folate, legumes, all of our nice green vegetables. I've got asparagus, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, and leafy greens all on my list for those of you on Instagram who can't see the slides. Eggs are a good source of folate. Beets, another world's perfect food. Nuts and seeds. Citrus fruits, they do more than have vitamin C. They also contain folate. And then papayas, bananas, avocados, all of those kind of tropical sort of fruits and foods. So those are our top 5 ingredients that we're going to look for foods today that have those in them that are all going to help nourish and boost our immune systems so that they can work more efficiently and keep us better protected and help our bodies repair and restore so that we're in better health this winter. And did you notice a pattern as we were going through, right? Lots of nuts and seeds, lots of beans and whole grains, and brightly colored produce. How many fruits and vegetables that we talk about that were bright green or red or orange, all these bright colors. And this is why nutritionists will tell you to eat a rainbow of foods. And the variety can be just as important as the amount that you eat because each one has different benefits. And so the better variety of brightly colored produce we can eat, the more nutrients, antioxidants, awesome things that our body needs, the more that we're going to get. And I love nuts and seeds particularly because they're little, but they're packed with so much goodness, and you can add them to anything. You can sprinkle nuts and seeds on almost anything. And we're going to see that as we start going through our recipes here. But before we do that, I promised in the little advertisement for this, I was going to talk about food as comfort as well. So I'm going to show you these recipes and we're going to talk about what's in them. But what I don't want you to do is throw out all your favorite foods and all the things that you love and try and trade it for something brand new. Because who wants to do that? Like if a nutritionist said to you, I want you to stop eating all your favorite foods and we're going to do something different. Who would sign up for that? I wouldn't. I wouldn't sign up for that. Instead, maybe we can add some things to the food that we already love. And maybe we can exchange a few ingredients so that we still get to enjoy the foods that we have memories of, right? We all have certain foods that remind us of growing up or remind us of grandma's house or remind us of our mom's home cooking or, things like this, or family traditions, right? We have so many holiday meals coming up really soon. I'm not saying junk at all. It's really important for us to keep those emotionally, socially. We eat with friends, we eat with family, we build relationships over meals. And so we want to be able to retain this while still including some things that have those good nutrients and components in them. And then there's also a physical reason why food is often used as comfort. And that's because there's a dopamine release that comes with carbs and fats, especially. So when we eat something that's very carb heavy or something that's very fat heavy, our brain releases extra dopamine in the pleasure center, in the reward center of our brain. And so we enjoy it and we want it again, right? And especially when it's the fat and carb together. When those are eaten together, we have even extra dopamine released in that pleasure center of our brain, the reward center. But it doesn't have to be the bad forms of carbs and fats. It can be the really healthy forms of carbs and fats. It has the same response. So maybe we can make some changes and swap out an unhealthy fat for a healthy fat and things along those lines. So I'm going to point those out as we go through these recipes. And these are just some examples of how you might include some of these foods in your diet. I decided to focus on breakfast foods for the point of this webinar, partly because it's my favorite. I love breakfast foods. I could eat them all 3 meals every day. But also because we want to start our day out well, right? We want to start by giving ourselves some energy to use throughout the day. We want the first things that we put into our body, into our digestive system, to help prepare our digestive system for the rest of the day. And that's why I threw this recipe in. This is not part of the ones that are going to be in the printout. This is just one that I thought would be really fun because it's the way I like to start my day. And I love it because A, it's tea, which is my favorite thing on earth, but also look at all of those spices that are in there. We've got cloves, ginger, cardamom, allspice, cinnamon, all of these nice warming spices. They are also prebiotics, which means they help prepare the digestive system to digest the food that's coming. So this is a great way to start your day if you're into tea, like I am. And, you know, a lot of times I'll just grab a chai tea bag from the grocery store, and that's fine too. But if you want to make your own blend, this is a great, easy recipe. And I did it in parts, 1 part clove, 1 part dried ginger root, so that you can make as much or as little as you want. So 1 part could be 1 tablespoon, right? It could be a tablespoon of cloves, tablespoon of ginger root, half a tablespoon of cardamom, like that. It could be a teaspoon if you want to make a real small batch. It could be a cup if you want to make a ton of chai tea blend. You could have a cup of cloves and a cup of ginger root. That would be a lot. You would have to drink a lot of chai tea for that to be worth it. 8 cups of black tea might be a bit much. But, you know, maybe you have a big family or you just really like tea. So that's why that recipe is laid out that way. But this is a great one. And then once it's mixed, you just put a spoonful of the mix of the blend into some kind of tea strainer, steep it with boiling, like just boiling water for 5 minutes. And then traditionally chai tea has sweetener and milk. So whatever your sweetener of choice may be, it could be just regular sugar, it could be brown sugar, it could be stevia, monk fruit sweetener, it could be anything. And then your milk of choice, which could be cow's milk, it could be almond milk, soy milk, oat milk, whatever you choose to put in there. I tend to kind of cheat and use the sweet vanilla almond milk because then I kind of have my little bit of sweetness and my almond. But if you don't want the sugar, if you want a sugar substitute of some kind, then you can substitute whatever you like. So this is a little bonus recipe in there for you guys. All right, here's our breakfast recipes. Doesn't that look delicious? I love blood oranges. So this is our blood orange overnight oatmeal. First off, first thing you see there is oatmeal, right? We have that nice whole grain, complex carbohydrate, good long-term energy and fiber. Plus it has protein too. Do you know most foods have some amount of protein? So we think protein, we think meat, eggs, right? Beans. Oats have 5 grams of protein per serving. So you're getting some goodness in there. And then we have our blood oranges, citrus fruit. And if you don't have blood oranges, you could do regular oranges. You could do grapefruit. You could do another citrus fruit in there. And that's got our vitamin C and our folate, our B9, right? And then I don't know if you can see, if you look real closely, see those little black dots in there? Those are chia seeds. So it's got chia seeds in it, which are a nice, good, healthy fat. They have a good, healthy fat in there, a good balance of omega-3 and 6, and then super high in zinc too. So we get a lot of zinc with our chia seeds. And on the spoon, that spoon in there, it kind of looks like peanut butter. And you could use peanut butter or almond butter. But in this recipe, it's tahini. And I don't know if you've ever had tahini. It's used in hummus and some other similar foods like that. It's served with falafel sometimes. I just made a tahini sauce that went with our falafel the other night. Oh, I just wanted to eat it with a spoon. It was so amazing. So I love tahini. It is made kind of like a peanut butter, but instead of peanuts, it is sesame seeds. It's real thick. So you could stir that into the oatmeal, or you could do a different kind of nut butter if you want. And that's got the good fats. It's got some protein. And so if you look at this, we have our carbs and our fats, right? That are going to be really comforting, warming, enjoymentful. That's not a word. But we want to get enjoyment out of our food, right? We want to enjoy eating it. So instead of eating an unhealthy carb and an unhealthy fat, we have both of those in a really healthy version right here in our breakfast to start our day, along with these other nutrients that are going to help boost our immune system and help our body function well. Now I want oatmeal. All right, the next one on the list is this breakfast protein bowl. So in here, you can see there's a variety of things. And the great thing about a bowl is that you can substitute whatever you want. If you don't like something, you can leave it out. It's so versatile and adaptable for anybody, for any tastes. So we've got some eggs in there, which is healthy protein, a little bit of fat, and zinc as well. Eggs are a good source of zinc. And then down at the bottom, you can see there's some spinach down in there. The spinach and the tomatoes are going to be high in vitamin A. And then we've got that healthy fat too, our avocado. Can you see that top right corner? And the spinach and tomatoes, that vitamin A, when they're eaten with healthy fats, like that avocado, it's gonna help absorb the carotenoids from the tomatoes. So we're gonna get more bang for our buck when we eat the tomatoes with a healthy fat like an avocado. And they just go so well together. So that works out well. And then I don't know if you can see, but in that bottom right corner, see the fluffy stuff? That's quinoa. So that's white quinoa. You can get red quinoa, different kinds. But quinoa has folate and zinc, and it's a great protein source. So tons of variety in this simple little bowl. And again, anything you don't like, leave it out. Anything extra you do like, you can toss it in. So you could leave out the eggs if you don't like them, or you could put in some mushrooms, or any of those other rainbow of foods, right, that we want to throw in there. And then I did put a couple of smoothie recipes in here because they're nice and easy. You can throw them together in just a few minutes in the morning, and you can sneak all kinds of stuff into them. So I do this with my kids all the time. Don't tell them. So I sneak all kinds of healthy stuff in there when they're not looking. And this is an interesting one. Did you ever think of putting butternut squash in your smoothie? Right? A little bit different. But if you like pumpkin pie or you're a pumpkin spice latte person, this might be a great option for you. And since you can't see the ingredients, I went ahead and listed them out for you. We've got our almond milk, some cauliflower, right, in a smoothie, but you get lots of good stuff in there. And then we've got butternut squash, of course. And the butternut squash and the cauliflower are both high in vitamin C. Not what we typically think of when we think vitamin C, but they are. And then we've got our banana, B6, B9, all our B vitamins, right? And some good healthy fats with our almond butter and with our chia seeds. Butternut squash is also super high in fiber. So we've got a really healthy carb in there as well with our carb fat balance, right? That we were talking about before. Just make sure you have a really good blender so it gets all nice and smooth. And then another bowl, vegetarian taco breakfast bowl. I feel like tacos are adaptable to almost any setting, breakfast included. So we have our egg again and our avocado. And then we have the tomato and green pepper kind of balance, both vitamin A, just like we had the tomato and spinach in the other one. So we've got vitamin A source there. And then a tofu scramble, kind of crumble the tofu and saute it. You can add whatever spices to that you like, chili powder or taco seasoning, depending on how full-scale taco you want to go with this. And we've got with tofu, it's loaded with good stuff. We've got iron, calcium, B6, and it also has a lot of protein. So it's a great source for that. And if you eat meat, if you want to do some ground turkey instead of your tofu, you can absolutely do that. You can make whatever changes you would want to for this. And personally, I would cover that whole thing in hot sauce. That's how I would start my day. Here's our other smoothie recipe. Again, trying to sneak in some ingredients you might not typically think of with your smoothies. Zucchini. Who would think to put zucchini in a smoothie, right? But zucchini, tons of zinc. Well, a small amount of zinc, but we've got some zinc in there. We've got folate, we've got B6 and vitamin C in our zucchini. Of course, we don't really need the vitamin C from the zucchini because we've got pineapple. You can get days worth of vitamin C with pineapple. It's loaded with it. And it has some B6 too. We've got our spinach, and then we've got green tea powder. Green tea is amazing. It's sort of this, it's a miracle beverage in my mind. I love it, and it's used for all kinds of things. It does have a little bit of caffeine in it, so this is a good one for the morning. You wouldn't want to drink this probably at bedtime, but it's a really powerful antioxidant, and it's known for being helpful with cognitive functioning, with mental functioning, for strengthening the heart. It can have a positive impact on cholesterol, blood pressure. It's used for weight loss. It has so many purposes. And this is a way to include it if you don't like just drinking green tea. This is a way that you can include it in your diet. So that matcha is a type of powdered green tea, and you can include it in your smoothie. And then this one has hemp seeds. So our oatmeal in the beginning had chia seeds. These may be things that you're not really accustomed to using, but they're fun to try out. And you could substitute chia seeds or flax seeds or something else in here. I love to put flax seeds in my smoothies. But hemp seeds might be something you haven't tried before, and you might want to try it with this recipe and see what you think. So hemp is very high in zinc. In fact, it's probably the highest of the ingredients that I have in this presentation today. And then we've got almond milk at the end, which in addition to all the nuts and seeds and great things, it also contains vitamin D, the almond milk. And so, you hear every winter, we need more vitamin D, but we can't go out in the sunshine as much because it's cold and our skin is mostly covered, especially if you live up in the northern states where it's already getting kind of cold and you got to wear your jacket. So dietary sources can be a good option. A supplement can be a good option too. So if you've been counting, that was 5. I said there were going to be 5, but then I found this one and it looked so good that I had to stick it in there too. Look how amazing that looks. And it's just a short list of ingredients, but all really good stuff. And I didn't have anything with Brussels sprouts, so I had to put it in. I love Brussels sprouts. They also have vitamin C and lots of folate, and they're just really good and healthy for you. They're in that cruciferous vegetable family, which is used for all kinds of disease fighting and preventing needs. So really, really good. And we've got the egg in there too with the protein and the good healthy fat. And then the only other things in this recipe, besides salt and pepper, is some red onion, and there is bacon in this recipe. So if you love your bacon and are not willing to give that up, then this would be a good recipe. Use a minimal amount, just kind of for some extra flavor, some extra pizzazz. If you don't eat bacon, you can absolutely leave it out. You could put in some mushrooms or something else instead. But I just thought that was a really fun one pan, throw it all in the pan, stick it in the oven, make it pretty quickly and easily, and it feels very comforting and almost indulgent while still having some really good healthy ingredients in it. So that is our nutrition section, right? Those are the 5 recipes, six recipes that I'm going to send all of our Zoom people so that you can try making those on your own. But I also wanted to talk about some herbs today, and specifically this category of herbs called adaptogens. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, if you've heard this term before. Adaptogens they're really cool. They're some of my favorite herbs to talk about. Each herb kind of has its own benefits, its own things that it's used for, but they also have one thing in common, all of them. They help your body adapt to stress in a non-specific way, which if you think about it, sounds kind of strange, right? But all of the herbs in this category help our bodies to function better when under stress. And we know we're way more likely to get sick if we're super stressed out, right? That affects our immune system. We let our guard down physically, and we're more likely to catch whatever's going around and to have illness symptoms from it. So these adaptogens help our bodies function better even when under stressful situations and in stressful circumstances, which I think you guys would agree right now is just a stressful circumstance for everyone. All of 2020 is one giant stressful circumstance. So these herbs can be really helpful and supportive and nourishing for our bodies, for our immune systems, and for our general functioning under stress. And just real quick, I want to tell you the story because it's so fascinating. The way that we got this term and we developed this category in the first place goes all the way back to World War II era in Russia. They wanted their soldiers to be stronger, more resilient, regardless of setting, situation, weather, all those things. They wanted them to be able to perform better, their soldiers and their athletes as well. So they sent scientists around the world to different cultures, different people groups, different indigenous people groups, and try to find out, what do they use? What are the local plants, herbs, resources that they use for strength and vitality and overall general wellness? And this is the list that they came back with. So I think a couple have been added in since then. They made some changes, but that's originally where this term adaptogen came from, and this kind of little family category of herbs. So we're going to look at 4 of them today, my 4 personal favorite, and that are really easily used by most everybody. There'll only be a couple that I'll give you a little cautions, but otherwise really safe, easy to use, readily available. The first one is Rhodiola. And this one, there's a picture of the dried root, and you can also see the flowers in the background because I just thought they were super pretty. So this is Rhodiola, and Rhodiola is energizing. And it's energizing at a cellular level. So it helps our body make more ATP, which is cell energy, right? So I thought that was just kind of a cool fact. It helps with focus, mental focus, and kind of overall vitality. And it works quickly. A lot of adaptogens, the longer you take it, the more you see benefit, but it takes a while. Rhodiola is one that you see results more quickly. It's good for night shift workers who need to be alert. It's used by a lot of students at exam time to help with that kind of mental focus. And also used often for that menopausal brain fog. So just having trouble concentrating, focusing, thinking clearly, Rhodiola can be really helpful. This one doesn't taste so great. It's not known for its delicious flavor. So it's most often used in a tincture form or a capsule form, and you can find those at your local health food store, or you can order them online. Just, make sure it's a reputable source that you're ordering from. But your local health food store, if you have one, is a great place because you can see the different options. You can talk to the people who are working there and get some more information, ask them questions. The second one on this list is ashwagandha, which is a great general all over adaptogen wellness, lots of different uses. It's considered a balancing adaptogen. So we have some energizing ones like Rhodiola, and then we have some very calming, some are even sleepy ones. Ashwagandha is balancing. It's kind of right in the middle. So like Rhodiola, I would not take at bedtime. You may have difficulty sleeping, but ashwagandha is kind of good whenever. It's used in a lot of blends. So it is included in a lot of sleep aids because it's just calming, but it's not, super sleepy or super energizing. And it's known for nourishing. So nourishing our nervous system, nourishing our adrenal function, our thyroid function, our immune function. And this one specifically has some specific benefit with the immune function in addition to helping us adapt under stress. So this is a great one. And just like I said, nourishing the immune system doesn't mean it's 100% fixed. It's the same thing here when we're talking about nervous system, adrenal, thyroid. If you have a serious level of disease or illness in those areas, it's not going to be an immediate fix, but it's going to help nourish it overall so that it can function better and help to repair itself better. Ashwagandha, just out of interest, is also often used with anxiety and PTSD. So if that's something you're interested in, you could contact a local professional or a local herbalist or a local naturopathic doctor to help you with that. Included in many sleep aids, I said, and this one does taste pretty good. So this one you could get a supplement. All of these you can find in supplement form, but you could just add it to a tea. It is especially good when combined with a fat, like with a milk, either a cow milk or a nut milk. Your body can use it more effectively. So you could just simmer it in milk and use it that way, or add it to like a chai tea that has that added fat to it. And the only cautions with this one is if you don't react well to foods in the nightshade family, like potatoes or tomatoes, you're going to want to use caution with ashwagandha, and it's not recommended for pregnancy. And that's the root. You can see in the picture, it's the root that we use. And then holy basil. If you were with me last week, I talked about holy basil last week. It is calming. Its nickname is yoga in a cup because it just has this sort of calming, centering sort of effect. That's how people who use it have described it. Also specifically helpful with the immune system. And it's often used to help with digestion and the inflammation that leads to pain, chronic pain, back pain, those types of things. Also, interestingly, has been used to help balance cortisol levels and to help balance blood sugar levels. So lots of really good benefit with this, and great in a tea. It does taste good, and it grows really well in the garden. So if you're wanting to grow one of these, this is the easiest one to grow. It's in the basil family, hence the name. And basil, if you've ever grown it, you know, tends to kind of grow like a weed. It's not super hard to grow. And so you could grow some holy basil out in your garden if you want to. And this one also, the name Yoga in a Cup and that kind of calming effect that it has provides great use with anxiety and with grief. That's another purpose for this holy basil. And like I said last week, the only caution is in pregnancy, a cup here and there is going to be fine, but I wouldn't drink this all day, every day during pregnancy. That's not recommended. And I saved my favorite one for last. My favorite one is Astragalus. This is the one that I've used for years and years. I love it. And its main purpose that it's most often used for, in addition to being an adaptogen, is that it can strengthen a weak immune system. So this is often recommended for people who, you know, they're the kind of person who catches everything that goes around, right? If it's going around, they know they're going to get sick, or maybe it takes them a little longer to recover from an illness, from a cold or a flu, than the rest of their family or the rest of the people in their office or around. So this could be beneficial for you if you fit in that category. And interestingly, there's been some preliminary research with Astragalus and autoimmune disease and cancer. So we don't have a huge body of research and information on that yet, but it's an interesting thing to keep an eye on and kind of see where that goes as we learn more about it. This one also does taste good, so you can add it into your chai tea. You can grab that chai tea blend recipe that was in the beginning and add some Astragalus to that. But it's also really good in soup broth and sauces and things like that. So I like to keep this one in my pantry or in my cabinet with my spices and my herbs. And then whenever I'm making a soup or, you know, something like that with that broth, I'll just throw some Astragalus in there too. Let it simmer in the broth and then remove it before you eat it, just like you would with a bay leaf, right? You don't want to eat the bay leaf, but you can get all the goodness of it as it simmers in the broth. So you can use this the same way. And I put this picture in there because I wanted you to see it. Astragalus looks a little different than our other roots that we use. And in fact, it's called an Astragalus tongue a lot of times because it kind of has that wider, flat shape to it. So if you ever see a recipe that calls for it, it may say 2 Astragalus tongues, and you're like, ew, gross, what is that? That's why, because it's a different shape. It almost looks a little more like bark, like a bark shaving, kind of. And now, as opposed to the rhodiola, which has kind of a faster effect, Astragalus is better with long-term use. The longer you use it, the more effect you're going to see with it. And this one is just about as safe as we can get with an herb. It's tolerated, sounds like. I barely tolerated it, but it means it's good for almost everyone. There are no specific contraindications or warnings associated with Astragalus. So this is a really good one to include. And especially if you're putting it in food, if you're using it just in your cooking, it's going to give you an even bigger margin of safety with any herb that you use. So this is a good one to get to know. So those are our adaptogens. I know I kind of breezed through these real quick, and you guys can do more research on these and look them up on your own as well. But that's our topic for today. So hopefully you have some good ideas of where to go and what to look for, and maybe building your own recipes, what you can add into it. And like I said in that little comfort slide, like take a meal that you already have and see, can I throw in some fruits? Can I throw in some nuts or seeds? Can I swap out this grain for a whole grain? Or, you know, what little changes can we make in order to include these healthy things in what we're already eating? Oftentimes that's a lot easier than trying to throw everything out and start over again. I wanted to tell you about our upcoming webinars, and then we'll do our little Q&A. So, excuse me, we have two more webinars coming up in November. Next Monday, my colleague Laura Nance is going to be doing more of like an advanced class type webinar. And it is on how to make your own weighted baby doll. So if you're a birth professional, if you teach any classes, whether it's childbirth classes, postpartum, lactation, any of those classes where you might use a baby doll with your students, she's gonna show you how to weight it so that it feels like a real baby, which is awesome because it helps your students not only practice the holds or positions or whatever technique they're doing, but it helps build muscle memory in holding the baby, supporting the head, all of those things. And she has the coolest technique. So I've always been a little jealous of her baby dolls. She's always had the really good ones. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna learn how to make my own, and hopefully I'll see some of you guys there too. And then on the 30th, 2 weeks from today, I'll be back and I'm gonna talk about the parasympathetic nervous system and how it can trigger the relaxation response, which is the opposite of our fight or flight. So if we have that big rush of adrenaline, fight or flight, how can we lower that back down, calm ourselves down, lower our heart rate, lower our blood pressure, lower those stress hormones? So that's what we're going to talk about on the 30th. And if you're interested in either of those or any of our future webinars, you can go to carolinabirthtrainings.com and you can see everything that's coming up and sign up for all the ones that you want to sign up for. So I hope to see you guys again at an upcoming webinar. And I'm going to stop all of the live feeds